I think that does.
Your story for what?
The spot.
As it spilled coffee. I'm bringing my carpet cleaner.
Does anybody need an orange?
I love one. Oh, yeah, thank
It
you.
was today.
Yeah, I'm exhausted from that. My gosh. Pen, you don't have a pen, you got a pen. Yeah, and unfortunately we don't have treasurer's report. I love one. Oh, yeah, thank you.
It was today.
Yeah, I'm exhausted. Next.
Oh.
That's the giveaway.
Oh.
I was at the wrong spot, wasn't I?
Oh,
No. It looks like one, but.
I think we're good.
This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, that's been started. I can minimize that. Oh, wait. Minimize that.
Sure.
I loaded up on vitamin C earlier. Light is hitting me right in the eye. Yeah. How about we bring the table back just to.
Back?
Yeah, I'm just getting blinded.
It's
Oh,
the-
you're
it's
getting the
this-
screen in your face?
it's-
Sorry.
Yeah,
Hang it.
there we go.
That better?
Yep, golden.
You turn your baseball cap backwards?
Get some weird sunglasses.
Uh-huh.
Alright, so I'm sharing my screen. We should be good to go. Hopefully, one more thing. Alright. And we should be live. So, one second again, go back to the screen. Right, we should be good to go, and we can begin whenever you'd like to, Eric.
All right. Let's officially call this meeting Park and Recreation District to order on, what we got here today is June 15th at 6:05.
Looks like we have a couple members of the public here. You would like to comment this evening? No? Okay. So I have no other public comment from anybody else. So move on to approval of the minutes.
Okay, if everybody has read the minutes, could I get a motion to approve the minutes from last meeting?
I will make a motion to approve the minutes from the May 18th regular meeting.
I'll second the motion.
Okay. Motion's been made to approve the minutes from May 18th and seconded. All those in favor, any discussion?
No.
Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Krista, aye.
Jake, aye. Excellent, Eric, aye. Motion is passed and minutes are approved. On to treasurer's report, correct?
Treasurer's report. So the county unfortunately did not get us a treasurer's report until last evening,
Like
late yesterday, and the report we received was incorrect with numerous errors. So Carrie has been working very hard with them most of the afternoon today, trying to get correct information. We do not have that at this time. So what we are going to do is we are going to continue to work on that, get it all corrected, and get it out to each of you via email once we have the corrected report. And at that point, Matt will have reviewed it and put his spin on it.
Yeah, we'll, I want to make a couple of comments, some of the other things that we've been working on, because we've been in the midst of, you remember, when was the audit completed a couple months ago?
It was December, January.
Yeah, so we went through the biennial audit and then have gone through now our annual audit reporting cycle. And we found a couple of things during that cycle. At the same time, Krista brought up a point about a mismatch between our profit and loss reporting that we maintain and the treasurer's report that we display. So we've been kind of in a churn looking at certain, how we've reported certain things and reconciling our financial management software with the way we report. So far what we can say is that the way we have organized the profit and loss elements, especially things like loan reporting, loan accounting, and transfers between fund accounts, doesn't match the way that our Account Edge is the name of the software, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so the way that software organizes and buckets money doesn't match the treasurer's report. We put more information in the treasurer's report than we do in the account, and then in the automated reporting we get from that system. So we need to, our resolution for that is to update that financial management system software so that it spits out the data the same way we see it in the treasury report, so there's an exact match. But when we dug into that, we learned that we don't have a support plan with the software company in order to be able to engineer changes. And so Carrie's in the process of working through that with them, the addition of a support plan. It might be another $250 a year or something like that to get support enough to be able to make those changes. At the same time, they want to move us to a subscription model from a discrete software purchase model. Right now, we pay them an annual fee associated with payroll, and we pay a one-time fee for software, and then we pay an annual fee for payroll. We can move to a subscription model where we're paying an annual fee or a monthly or an annual fee for the subscription, and that includes a support plan. So I would expect by next month we'll have that resolved. We'll be coming to say, hey, we've changed this plan. We've now moved to this model, and we're in the process, or maybe we've completed by then, adjusting the software system output so that it matches with the report, and it includes specifically the loan data and the transfers in and out from the M&O fund to the reserve fund. So work in progress. That will eventually get there. The portion that's the annual state audit reporting, it's clear that from past reports, we never have, it doesn't appear, ever have reported. If you remember in the Treasurer's Report fund balances section, we added this year a display of the loan accounts and loan balances and repayment status. When Carrie made the reports this year for the state audit and the annual audit reporting, she discovered that it doesn't appear we have included the data on the loan programs in previous audit reports. So we added that this year and have made a note of it. So when we get to the next formal audit, we've noted when we discovered this and that we've updated it with the reporting. The audit that we just completed reviewed our historical meeting minutes and treasurer's reports. So as part of that review, they reviewed and saw that data. So my belief is that the next audit is going to be able to, it's only going to contain, it's only going to cover the period, since the most recent audit, that they'll be able to look back to that audit and see that data. So my belief is that we're not going to see any issue in the upcoming audit. But it's something to note that in this annual report, it was clear that that data has not been reported on in the past. So more to come there. If we get any feedback from the state, we'll bring it back. But I think now they see it, and if we can adjust the financial management software to also report by default or in the automated reporting system so that that all matches, I think that'll make sure that there's clear and uniform reporting of that across our own software, our treasury report, and our state submittals. So, did I miss anything there? Okay. So, and then, the final piece that's never been an issue until this month, like in my experience, 15 years in the parks, this has never happened before, that we've gotten bad data from the county. Literally, this is the first time. Okay, so Terry probably deals with bad data from the county every day, but I mean, in terms of this, a formal report that they've nominally scrubbed and, because they're making reports to us and to other constituencies like North Whidbey to mix, what appears is that they mixed South Whidbey and North Whidbey to some degree, and that confused the numbers. So it's not 100% clear, but except it's unprecedented. So the fact that we can't report it out is also unprecedented, but as soon as it's clear, we'll post the updated report, and if there's any issue that we discover, we'll make that known. If we need to have a special meeting, we'll have a special meeting.
And I think the key here that we need to keep in mind is that our staff caught the issue immediately. It was not something that we were bringing to you at this meeting going, look at our new staff report, our new treasurer's report, and going, no, Kerry was like, this is wrong, brought it to me, and I was like, yep, call the county, and
yep.
It was caught immediately. We knew it was wrong. This is not, we started the conversation immediately. So it is nothing on our end that we're doing wrong that caused this problem. I don't know what the county's, it could be a software issue, it could be anything up there. We have no idea.
I think that they have a lot of, it's new employment. They've had turnover, and so they had, they were short-staffed, and then they're doing training. And so it's a combination of some of our deposits didn't show up in the report. And I've been actually struggling with this pretty much every month since I've started. And part of it has had to do with, so when I receive this report from the county, I get a picture of our credit card transactions, like the deposits that have actually come in. And they have pretty much every month not matched what it was supposed to be. And so I've done a lot of chasing slowly with our credit card people. So that's part of the problem, is that this is when I reconcile what I know to be our credit card transactions versus what our credit card processors have deposited in our account. And so it's been short, or it's been wrong a few times. So that's part of what takes a long time, is reconciling those transactions that I don't know until I receive this report. Or at least I don't know what's actually been deposited. So I'm to the point probably where I would change our credit card processing company. They are also really struggling because of being short-staffed. And so each month I've been receiving a notice saying, sorry, we're behind on our.
May I ask what company we use?
Point and Pay. We switched to them, I believe it was last June, maybe. So, but I keep taking on searching out a new.
Yeah.
The issue that we've had in the past, and I don't know if it's still the issue, is that any credit card company that we use, we have to get approved by the county, and they have to meet certain standards, and we have to go through the whole process. So it is a big deal. It's not just a big deal from a purchasing point of view, where we have to go out and get bids and quotes and so on and so forth. It's a big deal we then have to vet that through with the county and make sure the county is okay with them, because the county is our official treasurer. So all money has to go through the county. And now, there's no other way for us I don't believe there's another way for us to do that. We have to go through the county as an entity.
And just from that standpoint, remember when we were getting audited by the state auditor's office, the county is also part of the state audit program. So they've, when they audit the county and look at our finances among the other constituencies. And so that's all kind of one seamless thing. So we'll have a chance, they'll have a chance to be audited and mentored, and same way we were, help upgrade their process, upgrade the quality of their data. So we can trust that they're not out there on their own trying to sort all this out.
Did they have findings for the county then?
Yeah, they do, and I've never looked at a county report, but that might be
I mean,
instructive.
in terms of Park and Rec, though.
Yeah, no, I'm sure they do. That just as our audit is publicized on the state auditor's website, you can go in there and search for the county.
Yeah, you can search any government.
Probably
entity,
something
find out
to-
their staff.
No, I just meant in conjunction with us as the Park and Rec district.
Oh,
Like,
no.
It's a completely separate audit.
So it's a separate audit
reflecting
of their actions
That's what I meant.
related
Yeah.
to us. They wouldn't find anything on us on that. What they'd find would be that the county did something or didn't do something with our data or with
Right.
our money. It wouldn't have been, they wouldn't find that or be looking, I don't think they'd be doing that deep of a dive into the data at that point. They'd be looking at the county's operations and the county's procedures.
Yeah, well,
process.
and specifically this process.
That's what.
Like, how do you
I was getting
disperse
at.
this data to
Mhm.
the different constituencies? I think that's exactly what would be an auditable item. So this kind of discrepancy would be right in the sweet spot of the audit. Like, how do we make the county better at this? Yeah, because they need to be better. They're
Right.
making this mistake
Sure.
with us, they're making these mistakes with others.
Yep.
So before we move on to vouchers, any questions about any of that?
But thank you, Carrie.
Yeah, thanks, Carrie.
Yeah.
Hopefully I'll get to like fade into the background like Peggy did eventually.
Yeah, no, they're gonna be calling you for help, that's the problem. Okay, if there's no other questions there, you can look at the voucher list. Do you wanna hit any changes or highlights, Doug?
Yeah, I will go through any of the changes. So, changes that we've had since this came out on Friday. We had our bi-monthly payroll. Everybody got paid today, so that came out since then. We had the Horizon invoice for trash pickers and uniforms. We had, energy, a PSE bill, our health insurance goes along with our, payment for, health insurance came out, and then we had, some softballs, more softballs, scorebooks, race goods and softballs, so getting ready for triathlon and the adult softball league, track pickers and safety gear, retirement that goes along with our payroll taxes, which go along with our payroll. I see that there's a typo on one of those payrolls, but that kind of is it. So the big change would be that we paid our staff for the past 2 weeks today.
Any questions on the voucher report? Okay, if there's no questions, I'll make a motion to approve the vouchers from the M&O fund in an amount of $71,375.88.
I will second that motion.
Okay. There's been a motion and seconded to fund the vouchers at $71,375.88. Any discussion? Okay. Not hearing any discussion. Those that would like to approve the M&O fund for that set amount signify by saying aye.
Mr. I.
Aye.
Jake, aye. Aye. Okay, so.
Thank you.
Voucher fund has passed.
Who made the motion?
I did.
Matt did, and Krista seconded.
Kristen seconded. Okay, let me just get you guys to sign that, that'd be good. Next up is our staff report, May 14th to June 11th. You can see up there on the screen, we had 37 Monday, Wednesday, Friday outdoor pickleball. We had on Tuesday, Thursday indoor pickleball. We had 54. Adult co-ed softball, we've got 4 teams, which I believe is about where we've been for the past 2 years.
Last year was 5.
Last year was 5? Okay. But 4 is nice because then everybody plays every week. We don't have 5 weeks, which is nice.
Is there any issues with softball shaving the mounds down in Little League? complaining or vice versa?
I've been living in Florida for like the last 2 months, so we just started working on the fields. The mounds are so subtle that I don't hear any complaints ever.
Got it, okay.
I mean, they want to be on those 2 infields. So we've got field 1 right now set up for the Little League tournament. This starts Saturday. We've got
Are we hosting districts?
districts for majors.
Oh, really? Okay.
And so we've got fields 2 and 4 set up for this Friday, starting. Field 1's dedicated for Little League other than that.
There's only 3 teams in that district.
So it's
Yeah.
fairly short. So, yeah, we just put up the home run fence today for the first time in a couple of years, which was nice, kind of nice. They were excited to see it.
So we have the open water swim clinic, the pre-clinic info section is on Zoom, there's 16 pre-registered, we've got sailing lessons going, June 11th, that session is full for adult sailing. Coming up, we've got all of this stuff, things that I want to kind of highlight for you. The Chum Run is June 26th. Concerts in the park, we have the first one coming up on Wednesday, July 6th?
Yes.
Okay. And then I want everybody, all commissioners, to mark your calendars for July 23rd to be able to, if you are in town, come on out and volunteer and help us out with the triathlon. We may have some very good news. Sky and I have been crossing our fingers on sponsorships. We may have a title sponsor this year, which would be outstanding, which would be more than we've had donated in the past 2 years combined, 3 years combined, because 1 year we didn't do it. So we're hopeful for that. And then Sky and I have also been talking about, in conjunction with that, when we get through the busy time, sitting down and actually revamping our entire sponsorship package set up to be able to go out to sponsors and say, this is what we have throughout the year, what would you like to sponsor? As opposed to, hey, I'm not, trying to chase them down event by event by event. Like coming in with a sponsorship package and just going, hey, here's what we can do, put your name out in the community. What fits best with your business,
Are the sponsorships associated with the soccer complex and with like the Crabs Field, are those
are
done?
For Crabs and for Southern Soccer Club.
Yeah, so are they at all through the district? Okay.
No, they just get a permission from us to put them up. The one thing I will note on the adult softball that's starting up is we do have one team that is sponsored by Vernon Buzz.
Would be out of cannabis.
Would be on cannabis, and they asked if they could put a sign up in their dugout while they're playing, and I said, while you're playing, you can have a sign in your dugout, that's fine. You can't leave it up there the whole time. While you're playing, go right ahead. We're in the process of finalizing a professional service agreement with the Booster Club, which will allow the South Whidbey High School coaches to offer camps to the Park District with the proceeds going to their team's account for the Booster Club, which would be something really nice. We've added another drop-in pickleball on Wednesdays from 5 to 7, and we still need volunteers for the Chum Run on Sunday, June 26th, and on the triathlon on Saturday, July 23rd.
Has there not been an agreement with coaches in the past? I'm asking out of curiosity in terms of high school coaches putting on a camp through Park and Rec.
Nothing official.
So,
It's more with the Booster Club.
I can.
Now,
Go ahead.
Yeah, so there's been coaches that have their own LLCs where they've had to create their own businesses, and I've had a couple that have approached me and, like say, I want to do it like this person does it. And then explaining, well, there's tax implications to it, because they're just trying to make it so that the funds go to their team's Booster Club account. So it's approaching Booster Club at their meeting, laying out how this will make it a lot easier for their coaches to be able to help get funds into their account, because with the agreement with the Booster Club, the coaches can then just come to us and say, I want to run a basketball clinic or soccer clinic or whatever else it is, and we can just get that set up nice and easy. The money will go straight to the Booster Club, and then the coaches don't have to worry about setting up these LLCs or dealing with the taxes on it.
which they would have to do if they ran it through the school district.
Which they would have to do if they ran it as a business. I
Yeah.
don't know that they can run it through the school.
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, I don't think they can.
because I know for years we've had camps and in the past, and I don't know how that necessarily, there's also been the Booster Club involved receiving funds from that. I'm trying to figure out why Park and Rec is involved, and you explained it, I believe.
For our
To
registration.
make it easy, yeah.
It's for our registration, basically. They want to use our registration capacity and to be able to have people come in during the day, register for our programs,
Right.
and register on the school district doesn't have that many.
I think it's a great idea.
But the camps are not necessarily run on Park District property.
They could be run on the school district property.
Right.
But we also have the MOU with the school district.
That's what makes it unique.
It's
That's
a
why I
really,
asked.
it's one of these kind
Yeah.
of situations where we're going back and forth, but by the same token, it is recreational activity that we want to support. It's getting these kids, doing stuff in their off season and continuing to be able to, be out there, being a part of something during their downtime, which is great.
Is
And
there,
this- Go ahead.
is there any liability component?
No, I don't believe so.
It's the same liability we'd have for anybody that we have a personal service agreement with, but because there's ours and because it's also at the school.
So these camps would be listed in the flyer web page as well.
Right, so
correct?
like immediately as soon as this happened, I had, one of the basketball coaches reach out and say, okay, I wanna do a Future Falcon basketball clinic in a couple weeks. And so, yeah, getting that set up, and he doesn't have to worry about
Right.
registration, emergency contact info, liability forms, all that. It's like 20% comes to us, and they're great with that because it just makes it.
I think it's great. I think it's great for multiple reasons. You also have kids that come out here and stay with grandparents in the summer. You have people from other districts that would do it if they knew what was going on. They don't necessarily have a connection with the coach, but if it's in Park and Rec and they know there's a camp, they'll jump on board.
Yep.
I just think there's multiple really bonuses to that. My question was traditionally school districts running programs, with booster clubs on school district property as well. So I get it. I think it's a great thing.
Are these ending up in the activity guide?
They would, depending on the timeline. Depending on the timeline, it's like they will be online, they will be available online, they will be advertised online, and coaches will have their own methods of advertising.
I mean, to me, it's the kind of thing that you were talking about, the annual plan for sponsorship. This was part of that kind of regular periodic contact with the district, and we said, hey, as long as you plan your camps by this such a date, it'll make the winter activity guide, because I think making that clear to them, I think we might actually get some more advance notice, and it could do what you're talking about, better chance to get 4 or 5 more kids into it.
And that's free advertising for them too, right? Minus the 20%.
The 20% pays for being in the guide, if they can make it in time, being on our website, us advertising it, sending it out to the community, and us processing all the registration, taking the payment, chasing down when the credit card charge goes missing, and it's back, all of that, pays for all of that.
Right,
So,
but I mean, if you look at the comp plan, right? One of the things in the comp plan, when we're about to go into the cycle again, right? Our comp plan ends in 2023. So one of the things in there is this level of service determination. It says, what are you doing as a district in the following recreation categories: basketball, youth basketball, tennis, pickleball, swimming, et cetera, right? And I mean, to the public, right? It's a seamless thing, whether it's coming from the school district or the park district or City of Langley or Freeland or Island County. Like, it's the same thing with a park, right? I'm in a park. Is this a district park? Is this a Langley City Park? Is it Dave Mackey? Is it Max Walton? Who runs this one, right? I mean, most people, the detail's not important, right? It's the same kind of thing. We say, here's the spectrum of programs, whether this program that's in the activity guide that's on our website is run by a school coach or a third party that's been organized by the school coach or whatever. Again, largely, I don't think it's critical to the citizen who's actually being able to participate, right? So to me, this helps when we sit down and do the comp plan and say, it makes it much easier to look at that whole spectrum because it's in our, it's somewhere in our system, kind of.
I just think it sets a wonderful precedent because a coach will jump on that for those very reasons.
well, and I think we we were starting to get requests from coaches and going, how do I do this? This doesn't make sense the way it's being done. And I don't want to be taxed on it as income because it's not income to me. I want it to go to the booster club. So I don't want to create a business to be taxed on.
Right.
How do I set this up appropriately? And so Sky's been chasing it down.
And that's been finalized, so.
Do you guys know, does the Booster Club have discrete accounts set up for each team?
Yeah, so they made sure that the language in how it's advertised has to be that it is, I have to look up the wording, but along the lines of, to help proceeds go to the South Whidbey High School baseball fund,
Got it.
booster fund.
Yeah, so it's not just going in the general pool and.
No, it's going to their
It's
specific.
specifically stated in the description.
Got it.
But you're absolutely right, man. We need to give them these coaches, here's our activity guide calendar. If you want it to be in our activity guide, we have to have it by this date, period.
Yeah.
And so Tom, if you want to do something for baseball, has to be in to.
Nice.
That's great.
So, Sky, this agreement, I know it passed my desk, but I didn't look very closely on it. Is it only in the case where nobody is being paid other than the booster club?
The payment is only going to the booster club.
Okay.
So that's the way it's set up, and that's the way the coach is set up, that's the way the booster club wanted it set up, because then it's a clean delineation of, we know this check is going, they're able to know specifically this amount came in.
We're not paying somebody else, we're not paying the coach a certain amount and then paying the booster club. We're just paying our expenses. We take the 20% off the top of the net and send them the rest.
So it's always in the case where they're donating their time.
Yeah, it's not that, that there's an
Yes.
instructor.
Because we have
being-
some of the coaches that do retain.
Right,
the
they can do
funds
that
as-
separately,
yeah.
but I think this was more, the purpose was that coaches were looking for ways to help support their team funds through the booster club if they wanted to get some equipment, go to some camps, do whatever with it.
Sure. Okay.
Great.
Facilities and grounds, biggest challenge that we.
Sorry, I
Go
still
ahead.
have a question. How goes the triathlon?
How goes the triathlon?
Sign-ups, volunteers,
Volunteers
planning
need to work
committee.
on, our sign up. I just sent an email to everybody right before this. We're about 125 for individuals. Team-wise, I think we're at 23. The biggest push I think we need right now will be the volunteers. Permits are in, sponsorships we've been working on, medals ordered, bibs are ordered, so now it's having to get this last month and a week and hammer down. I mean, it's been a matter of time more than anything.
Do you know, where does the 125 fall relative to, I mean, past years, last couple have been weird, but historically, for 5 weeks out, where's 125? Are we low, are we high, are we right on?
We're low, but
Okay. So, and the field limit is 300? 250?
275 bikes.
275 bikes. And
Which is
last year, what,
300 to 325 is our, ends up being.
okay, with the teams. And last year, where were we at the actual race day?
I do not recall. Last year was an unusual exception where we had to open registration very late because we were
Yeah.
not being granted permits.
We were an anomaly last year.
Yeah, so we didn't open registration until, gosh, what would it have been, May, June?
Yeah, it was late. It was towards the end of May.
Yeah, so is there any ideas, or you guys are already going forward with, like, last 4 weeks, advertising campaign, like special push, any other way to drum up more?
Yeah, and that was why I'm working to get a committee meeting this week. Like this last year, like it's just an immense learning curve.
I have not received any emails.
Oh no, I mean I just sent it earlier today.
I have not received
Hmm.
any emails.
I will double check.
You as an athlete or you as a,
On the planning committee.
Are you signed up for the race too?
No, because I will be on the lake.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah.
As the water,
Supervisor.
yeah,
There you go.
It'd be interesting to know if we get a period of good weather in the next 10 days, if that turns anything.
Yeah, I will say that just driving around, I have not seen as many cyclists as usual.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
not gonna happen.
I might have to go hit a send button really quick.
That's what it is.
It's definitely sitting there, I can make it happen in about 30 seconds.
So, anything else on that part of the staff report? Okay, facility, like,
That's last month.
that's last month?
I was in St. Louis, so I didn't get what's sent in.
Oh,
But,
there you go.
the big news is we've hired, Alex Gosler, he's our new employee, so
Back up to full strength.
we're training. He's young, and so there's just a lot of training that goes along with it, and we're just basically in catch-up mode. So, poor guy's been hand mowing and weeding a lot. And so, yeah, we're just moving forward with him. He's energetic and learning a lot every day. So, that's kind of our biggest thing. Other than that, we're just still raining, and it's still growing, and getting ready for the league tournament. Soccer just ended, the bulk of the soccer season ended, so kind of going into that midsummer field repair time. We can get caught up, we can do our aeration, top dressing program, and things like that. I am concerned about budget this year. I'm going to let you guys know that right now, that basically fuel's doubled, fertilizer's doubled, grass seed is tripled, garbage can liners, toilet paper, everything's basically doubled. And concerned about budget this year. It's a crazy time, and our usage is up. We mentioned that a little bit. Post-COVID, the garbage increase we've seen. I mean, our dumpsters are overflowing every week by Monday, and so our usage is up. It's going to be interesting, kind of where we end up at the end of the year, budget-wise. So there may be some things that we can do. So anyway.
Yeah, I think what we can do is we can do maybe a second half, take a snapshot of the second half budget and then just rerun it based on new data and just use that. We can make that part of the report next month. So why don't we just get you and I scheduled to just do, you guys as a staff, do that just second half budget relook compared to the projection, and then we'll roll it into the reporting for next month.
I have a lot, like top dressing sand yet. I just got a thing from Miles Sand Gravel, their aggregate products went up $5 a yard across the board.
Wow.
So I mean, it's stuff like that that just, anything with trucking, diesel, just anything. It's gonna be interesting.
So my section, we did get the PowerPoint presentations done, and Matt, from what I saw, the three that I saw him present, did a fine job presenting the local parks grant applications, and I know he did the two for the Land and Water Conservation Fund as well. We had Barry Hayworth come to the pickleball one. We had Eric Richmond, the architect, show up for the amphitheater one, and then Mark Alpenstell joined him on the sports field one and took notes, got some good comments back.
And Rich Bachkalupi from the foundation.
Rich Bachkalupi for the pool one. We got some really good feedback as to how we can hone those and make them better and get more. We're going to need to tweak a lot of it, but good feedback for us to base that on. So a lot of what I was finding myself saying as I watched the 66 presentations I saw was stop putting so much text on the slide. We can't read it because we're going from this screen to this screen where we're entering in the data, and I can't read that much text in that short of a time. And then put it up on something like this where you have to actually see it in big format. because then you're looking at, when you're looking at the text, you're like, okay, there's no way I'm gonna read that in this at that time. Bullet point, very simple, and big graphics where you can actually see things. So those are the big key things that I was hearing, and we did a pretty good job of kind of lining things up, but telling them more about what's existing in the park at the start, and then going into our presentation, like, well, what do you have? And then the amphitheater question, there's a couple of things in amphitheater and need about how is this, you know, the need, who's using it now? Why do you need this? What is the real need for an amphitheater? Why do you need an artificial turf field? How many people are using your fields now? What will the increase be when you have this? So addressing that change in the scope and all of that kind of stuff. So I thought that was really well done. The other things that we're going to need from the community is letters of support for all of these projects. So if you know of an organization, get in touch with me. If you think would be good, get in touch with me. Let's get them contact. Let's get a letter in our pocket, because we have to literally scan them all into one document and submit that document, and then we can say we have 23 letters of support for this project, and so on and so forth. We have some in hand. We need more. The more we can get, the better. I've actually reached out to Eric and talked to him about getting all the PE teachers to do one for the sports turf and the pickleball courts, and potentially even for the pool as well, to kind of sign off on one letter for each project and just say, all together, hey, we support this project as the physical education teachers of South Whidbey Middle School or South Whidbey School District. Boom. And then getting kids to write letters of support is always helpful. So that's where those kind of stood. Anything beyond that, like donation-wise, I know the amphitheater and the pickleball courts really get a big kick because the pickleball courts have the $50,000 committed, you know, from the pickleball communities supporting that with donations. And then we've got $15,000 from South Whidbey Rotary, and Eric Richmond is donating his time to design the amphitheater, so that's cost efficiencies that gets us big points there as well. Any donations that we have towards this from the local community are always huge in the cost efficiencies category. So if somebody you think might donate to one of these projects, send it my way. We can have a chat about it, and if we can get a few $100s in the coffers, that's better than nothing. To be able to say, yeah, we've already raised. We just started and we've already raised $1,000 for this project. It helps. Eric and Tom had approached the Dakin family regarding the possibility of an easement on the property next door. And from what I heard from both of them, it's not something we should continue to pursue on that project, but we should continue to keep the lines of communication open with them and support them if they need our assistance. It is not something that they are interested in having us do anything with clearing of trees to put in a septic meadow over it. So that's what we heard back from them. I talked with the Joint Aquatics Committee about that at our meeting. Was that last week?
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago. It's been a blur, sorry. There was like 66 projects in 5 days, and my brain just. You know, the idea I presented to the committee, they were just, oh, that's good, let's move on, let's move into the next stage and look at what we do from here. On the well decommissioning, so we do have well number 3 right over here on the front of the property. I have consulted with ecology and gotten a couple of contacts. I've already gotten one quote on decommissioning that well, which is actually sealing it up and getting rid of it completely, so it's not there anymore, filling it in or what have you. That quote was, I believe, about $5,200. We would probably have to dispose of or get rid of the shed that's on top of it, but they would do the rest of the work. So just putting that out there to let Tom know. But I'm looking at getting, since that falls within our 3-quote range, I'm going to get 2 more quotes and see where we have on that. I do not have to go to bid on anything less than $6,000. So the one quote's under 6, we can proceed with 3 quotes. Once we have that, but even now before that, the Department of Ecology asked me who my contact was at the health department, who ultimately approves our small water system management plan, because now we're making steps towards dealing with their requirements. They are now more along the lines of, let's we have until the end of this year to get match dollars back from the Recreation Conservation Office on the campground project. So we can't do anything until we have that small water system management plan done. And I need to go back to the county now that I'm out of grant mode and start working on the septic review, since I haven't heard back from them once again. That's kind of where everything is. Eric, Tom, did you guys want to add anything about the conversations with the Daytons? Or?
Well, I would just say that per Tom's discussion as well, just the fact that they might be open to trusting the land in a different way is pretty cool. So I think where Tom and I landed is be gentle and approach and keep the communication, try to keep reaching out. I've tried several times, I think Tom's tried several times, but just the fact that they're open to the idea of possible trust, I think is huge. And Tom, you can speak to it as well, but
Yeah.
just the idea of making it something special that they would want.
Yeah, I haven't seen Lynn outside for a long time, so I didn't want to just stop in. There's been different cars there, so I called over, and his daughter answered, and I asked if Lynn was available, and she was pretty short, pretty to the point. And, well, who is this? What do you want? And or what my task was, and trying to set up a meeting in person if possible. And well, you can buy this property, but you cannot cut down any trees for any reason. She goes, trails possibly, but that's it. I'm not selling to you. In fact, we're looking at other trust type situations. This is not Seattle. Trees are not going to be cut down. It's going to be preserved the way it is. And I said, okay, well. And then I talked with Eric, and we were going to try to connect together on the phone, connect with her, and she hasn't answered her return call. So that's where we're at. So he's not doing well. She made it very clear that it's her property now and her.
But just the fact that they're open to the trust is, I think, pretty exciting because that property is worth a mint. You know, they could sell it and make a profit on it, but you know, if they're thinking about something in the future, a dedication type thing, you know, Tom and I were saying, just we'll do it any way you want. You know, if you want to dedicate it to in your father's name or whatever.
I think it is an opportunity for us to be caring and considerate, and to look at these people and go, yeah, we're here. You need us to help with anything. If they have a bad tree that they need taken out, we've got a crew that can probably do it with the equipment we have in less time than quickly and get it out of their way. If they have a problem they need some help with, we're right here. We can give a hand. I don't think that their request in trusting it to somebody would be an obtrusive request. I think it would be you know, hey, if you're going to take it, yeah, but you've got to keep it and not take down a bunch of trees and build a soccer field. It's to be open space and used as trails or something like that, maybe in natural interpretive center or something. But it would be something that would be over time. I don't think that this is a let's talk to them tomorrow. So let's just keep the lines of communication open and touch base. Have Tom continue to do what he's been doing for many years, which is make sure that he's supportive of them and helping them out when they get it. Okay. Any other questions on the staff report?
No, I'll make a couple of comments about the grant.
So I do have that also, I believe, in the regular agenda.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well,
Yeah.
I'll defer to them.
So I do have that. Any other questions on the staff report? Because that's what I was going to let you talk about that. Moving on.
On to unfinished business. Comprehensive plan programs.
Comprehensive plan programs, we've got two things on the list here. I've kind of touched on them a little bit in the staff report, so not much new. So just to let you know, the PowerPoint presentations all went well. I'll let Matt take that and run with that. And I'm looking right now at scheduling meetings for early next week with those committees to kind of go through the debrief and look into next steps and talk to where we go from here and what we need to do next. We have to get things put back together, I believe, by mid to late July. I have to look at the exact date again.
July 27th.
27th, I believe it was. And then, I believe we have until the same as what we had in technical review, but I gotta double check that date as well for the actual,
August, I think it's
presentation.
first or second week of August.
I thought it was later than that. I thought it was late August 27th.
Okay.
I'll double check those dates.
So letters of support by July 27th.
Letters of support, sooner the better, but
Yeah.
by July, I would say letters of support by July 15th, because I'm gonna have to organize them by project, scan them, and upload them to Prism. So, we can get any letters of support to me by July 15th, that would be ideal.
It would be helpful to know, or have a list of targeted, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know, am I supposed to go knocking on doors?
I'm more
Like
talking
what?
I'm more talking about associations or organizations that you already have a connection with
Okay.
that fit with these.
Yeah, so what we should do, if you look at this, Doug was talking about that, I kind of ranked them. We have the most complete set of support letters for the aquatic center. Probably second is pickleball. And then third and fourth, at distant third and fourth of the turf field conversion and the amphitheater. So I think if we looked at the list that we have already gotten start with the aquatic center and see if we can fill those in. Pickleball has already gotten probably half of those, and that's school district, senior resources, City of Langley, Island County Commissioners, Port District. And
City of
then,
Langley we've got, it's just not here yet.
yeah, but like for turf field, yeah. So again, I think building that matrix, and maybe Doug, we could make a little spreadsheet like that.
I can make something up and put that out.
Yeah, because like I said, we have got a pretty good comprehensive list. They've already heard from us on the wellness center, so we come back and we say, hey, good news, thank you for your support of this project. We'd like to get you to show your support for this other project as well. So I think that would give us a roadmap.
Well, what I was kind of looking at was groups that might be good to get letters of support from for a specific, like for the amphitheater, Shakespeare.
Yeah, exactly. Arts organizations.
Like the Saratoga Orchestra, any groups like that might.
And that's another dimension for that project. Absolutely.
So that's where
So let me sit down tomorrow. I'll put together a matrix and I'll try and get that out there. Okay. Any other organizations that you think might fit?
I can approach Island Shakespeare. I can approach the Saratoga Orchestra. Yes.
Okay. Perfect. Let me get the list together and I'll get that out. Matt, do you want to make any comments on the grant?
Yeah. So I would say what we learned is they have a prescribed format for the grant applications. Doug, we built these to match the state format, and basically what they told us was, great, but how about the rest of the story? So, okay, we followed the rules, but now we know that they want more, and they kind of wanted us to tell a story to get you to the first slide of the presentation, like Doug was saying. Like, tell us about the park. Like, really, their prescribed format says, show us where the project's going to be. Drill in and show us what's around the project. But again, so one of the biggest change is we're going to walk them into the project, with 3 or 4 slides that show, here's the park, here's what else is in the park, and then here's where this thing fits. So to me, that was the biggest point of feedback. In each case, I would say the biggest takeaway I had, I was under the impression that we were going to see just the staff of the RCO as part of this technical review. They're looking at the nuts and bolts. They had constituted the actual board. Like, this is the real board, dry run. So we had the mayor of Hoquiam, we had the parks director from Aberdeen, we had the, recreation consultant from wherever, So, so we had a diversity and every single person in the board had some experience with this process. It had applied for a grant, was applying for a grant, had reviewed, had been on a board before, like Doug. And so, we were getting drilled into every single aspect of it, which was great, fantastic. Like, it wasn't not just a cursory review, like they were, and so anyway, so I think that, and some of the things that Doug's already said, like, can we build the story about support from the stakeholders in the community? That will help us. Can we talk, when we talked recently, the 2 things that are called out by our demographic, our affordability and accessibility. So they wanted us to tell the story for the amphitheater. Show us where is accessible parking, how do you get from accessible parking to an accessible seat, how do you get from the accessible seat back to your, all that, like show that detail, which, you know, again, it ties the application together. Here's what your population is you know, is driving you to do and think about, and then show us how that's reflected in this project. So that connection and that story of accessibility and affordability, but in the end, once they got through the nuts and bolts in each project, and Doug heard it in the LWCF, I mean in the WWRP local parks, and then I heard it in the LWCF day, every time 1 or 2 or 3 people on the board said, excellent project. Like it met their kind of big picture criteria. So every time I heard, as long as you guys keep building these things, filling in these gaps, you guys are all, you're going to be competitive across all these projects. So anyway, I think there is none that we got feedback that said, nah, bad idea. And then I listened in, and I'm sure Doug, you listened to 60 of them, but I listened in to probably 15 or 20. There are other projects very similar to ours, and I think ours had at least as strong a story or better. Turf field conversions, I think there was another amphitheater, there was, so.
I saw pickleball courts.
Pickleball, yeah.
And I saw other amphitheaters, I saw other turf field conversions. There were some things that I was literally doing the face palm, you know, like there's a question is it an expansion or a renovation? And on the turf field, I didn't put it as a renovation. And I'm like sitting there afterwards going, that's all it is. It's totally a rent. Like why? Like
yeah. Well, and there were those kind of aha moments throughout the whole.
So it was really valuable. I would agree with Matt. One of the comments. So we do a debrief after everything with all the other reviewers, and it is the review board that is going to score this come August. So we talked about the project, and I said my comment was I liked a lot of the projects as a whole. I think we saw better quality of project, not necessarily better quality of presentation this year than we have in the past. We saw less projects. Now that could be a lot to do with construction costs right now. I think a lot of agencies probably backed off just thinking the cost is going to be exorbitant. We can't do it with the cost of materials right now, and backed off with the grant applications. That could help us. There was one that was just a parking lot, and I'm literally looking up at the screen going, you're telling me you need a parking lot for your facilities that are here, here, and here, and I'm looking at your overhead, and your parking lot's got like half the parking spots empty. So why do you need a parking lot? Like if you're gonna show me that, you know, and that's kind of when I was like, okay, so show me the visuals, because it's one of those where you look at the screen, and I'm like, you're showing me a parking lot that's half empty, and you're telling me you need more parking. It's not hard to go out there with the phone on a busy day because it was an outdoor pool on a sunny weekend, and go click, or get a kid with a drone to come over with his drone, fly out there and take a few pictures, you know.
And that specific point Doug mentioned the data earlier. So that first criteria for all these is need, and that's the highest point scoring criteria. And that was another thing that we need to bolster is the actual numbers to the point of the amphitheater. How many events will you be able to host? How many people are going to attend those events? If you did them in your temporary location on the baseball fields, how many events would you displace? So we're not going to shut down Little League for these periods. We're not going to shut down softball for these periods. We're going to move them over here, and we're going to be able to host 3 events a month, 2 events a month, whatever. So those showing the actual numbers. How many people are going to use the turf field in the winter months? You know, number of soccer teams, ultimate frisbee, pick up this, lacrosse camp, you know, whatever. So bolstering it with that. The last thing I'll say is we presented, the first one we presented, we were right after Snohomish County was presenting Kayak Point. It was Kayak Point. And
Just at Land Water.
yeah, maybe it was Land Water.
Yeah, because we were first in the morning.
Yeah. But the person who presented was a park planner Snohomish County has park planners. Who knew, right? Full-time, this person had been working on this application for the last 12 months. Like literally for the last 12 months. And they were just polished, like they had done the script and, read it in front of a mirror 100 times, right? So, and rattled through it, right? And we kind of did the same thing, but we weren't as practiced, and because, whatever. And so then, to Doug's point, I logged back in later because I had more stuff to do, and I wanted to log back in and listen to the last 2 or 3 presentations. When I logged back in, they were done. And they let me log back in, and they were doing the review. And I said, well, they don't mind me listening, I'm just going to listen in. And they're just, what did you think? What did you think? Around the board. And one of the board members says, what was really interesting to me was the diversity of presentation horsepower, bandwidth. Like you had planners, like City of Seattle. These are people, like Snohomish County, right? They're cranking through this. And he goes, then you got these other remote people, like Othello and Whidbey Island, this kind of thing. And they're still bringing it. Like they were impressed, I think, that quality was, that there had been work put into it by, and we were showing up with Eric Richards, who's done all this pro bono work. So we have renderings that look like an amphitheater, and we've gone through the, that cost analysis on the pickleball. And so all that, like they were impressed that we were able to be competitive with a full-time planner for City of Seattle doing the same exact thing. That was number one. And the guy who was running the board, Kurt, whatever his name was, the RCO guy who was organizing the whole thing.
Kurt, you're pointing at me, but I wasn't in that.
Yeah, so anyway, so he says to the board, this is the same board that's going to review, he said, just remember that no matter what that underlying staff support is, evaluate the viability of the project. Like, how does it meet, what is the need and how does it meet the need? So that kayak point, they're trying to defend against climate change and sea level rise because it's flooding kayak point. I mean, we think we got flooding problems. It's under 3 feet of water, literally 3 feet of water. So that project, evaluate that versus the need for that project versus us in an amphitheater and the need for that amphitheater, independent of that they have 10 planners and that they have 60 people on staff and that these people are doing it on volunteer time at 10 o'clock at night on a Tuesday. So, he made that crystal clear. So it just felt to me like walking away to me that it's a level playing field, even though it's not really level when it comes to these kind of things. We're going to get a fair shot. We are going to get evaluated on the criteria and not on that Doug only had 10 hours to spend on it and not 3 staff spending 80 hours on it.
Right, so and I would keep in mind the key aspect of that is evaluated to the criteria.
Yeah.
So they might be looking at getting a grant to defend that area, kayak point, from climate change or the encroachment. That might not fit well with the criteria. From a Parks and Rec perspective, that might be more of a Army Corps of Engineers or something like that, where you're looking at how are we going to do this and where are we going to get this money from. It might not be a Parks and Recreation grant, because we've done that. So in the process of doing this is now my 3rd cycle through evaluating these grants, and now I'm looking at stuff and going, this shouldn't be in this category. This should be in, like there was one that was a salmon lab in local parks. I'm like, why aren't you in, ecology, like there's a riparian category, or there was one with a boat launch and all this other stuff on a river, and I'm like, why aren't you in water access?
Yeah.
Why are you here?
Yeah.
This is not a local parks project, this is a water access project. So it's, and sitting there but that's also, you also have to keep in mind that some of these organizations and individuals are like me, only they don't have the experience I have of being in this now for my 3rd cycle as an evaluator. So I know, okay, this is the right category, I should be putting this in this category. And I know to go and call Allison, my grants manager, who's our best resource, period, bar none, and go, hey, what do you think about this? Where should this go? Do you think this is viable? Does it make sense? And she'll go, yeah, no, Doug, you're crazy, put it in this category. A lot of these people don't listen. And that's what our discussion was at the end. It's like, some of the newer, because people are new, they've never done this before, they're not their basketball. So, you know, it sounds like a lot of these people didn't follow instructions. Don't you give them training? And I'm like, that's what this is. This is their opportunity. This is our opportunity as people who are applying for these grants to learn what are you looking for this year? There's changes in the criteria. How are we meeting them? What are we missing? And I think Matt just detailed out really, what we were needing to focus on. It's that need, it's the numbers, it's getting that quantification in there and going, hey, you know what? Right now we have between 3 and 5 concerts in the park. The reason we only have 3 and 5 concerts in the park is not because we can't get up to 200 people out there for a concert in the park. It's because we can only have them on Wednesday nights, number one. Number two, we have softball. Adult softball league goes all through the summer, and that's Fridays, Saturdays, and we can't do those concerts on the Saturday nights now and on the Friday nights. Now, we have our own amphitheater, we can do movies in the park, we can do concerts in the park, we can do Shakespeare in the park, we can do all sorts of different things and provide more artistic recreation opportunities for our community. So that's the kind of quantification that we need to do and the clarity of the project. So it is seeing 15 like Matt saw. He probably saw some good and some bad, but I don't know that he saw the real bad.
I heard the greatest quote I heard was Hoquiam. I think it was Hoquiam was doing this. They were converting a gravel parking lot to part paved parking lot, part pickleball. And they had heard our presentation, and they said, somebody in the board asked them, so what's the pickleball court setup? They said, well, we're only doing 2 courts, not like those Whidbey guys, right? With the 6. So last point I'll make is, like I said, in that spectrum of presenters, we were as good as we were because we've had incredible volunteer contributions to the project. Eric Richmond and that group to the amphitheater, the various user groups for the turf field, Brian McCleary, soccer club, Michael, all those guys, Ultimate, for pickleball, Barry and the pickleball group have, again, that advocacy, getting the letters of support, the foundation, Rich, Marnie, Megan, that whole group building those letters of support and the other materials that we put in. So that volunteer contribution got us to the presentation point where they walked away and told us, this is a great project, excellent project, great project. So yeah, my thanks to all that infrastructure, because we haven't done these kind of applications in the past, because we have not been able to bring that level of kind of grassroots support to the table. And now, especially during COVID and all this craziness, that those people stepped up and volunteered and offered their time and committed, in some cases, an incredible amount of time. Barry, they raised $50,000. Foundations raised $100,000 for the pool. So anyway, just my own thanks to that group, because they got us there.
Were other groups that you saw then, were they pulling off that kind of fundraising capital?
No, I mean, there were a lot of so it depends on who you're talking about. So there is a category of applicant that's the city. So Snohomish County, for example, Snohomish County's doing Kayak Point. So they're coming asking for $1 million from LWCF. They're gonna fund it, the city budget or the county budget is gonna fund a matching $1 million or $2 million or $5 million. And I saw that with City of Seattle, it's coming from City of Seattle money. Hoquiam was ponying up $2.7 million for this field conversion and lighting for baseball or softball. So Snohomish County was putting in budget money. Oak Harbor was doing this Harbor Heights field. They're building a park with a bunch of grass fields. Harbor Heights in the middle, kind of in the middle between kind of the high school and middle school. So those entities have city budgets that can kick in money that we can't kick in. And then other entities like us that don't have that bandwidth are doing the grant for grant match like we are. Apply to WWRP local parks and apply to LWCF or apply youth athletic facilities and vice versa to get that matching money. And then, as Doug said, they were asking us for, okay, you've got a letter of support from the school district and from the, Shakespeare and from whatever. Okay, and then show us in part B of that, the next slide, tell us who in that group of supporters is actually investing money or resources. Okay, so we have the pickleball group. Okay, they've all said we support. Now they've also contributed $50,000. The foundation has raised $100,000. That had huge impact. Like that, that takes it from, it's easy to sign your name, or
Yeah.
easier to sign your name on something, but then when you're actually putting a stake in the game, So anyway, so that to Doug's point, that we have that for every project except the turf field. So anyway, so I think building that over the next month and a half, two.
So I will say that there's a difference for the communities they look at it. So when they're looking at, because each one of the criteria has a point to it, right? So public need is 15 points, project scope is 15 points, project design is 15 points, and then there's sustainability, which I think is 5.
Yeah, 5.
And then there's expansion renovation, which is 5. There's community support, which I think is 10. And then there's cost efficiencies, which is what we're talking about, which is 5 points. Well, cost efficiencies, a lot of people come in and they go, well, we're getting this grant and this grant and this grant. But that's not cost efficiencies. That's just you going after other grants. That's not what they're looking for, is local non-tax dollars. So they're looking for donations. And then what are you getting? Like, are you getting donation of labor, donation of materials, somebody donating all the lumber for your framing? What's happening that is being donated? And any donations you have Eric Richmond's time on the amphitheater, the $50,000 pledges. Anything that's more solid, the more solid it is, the more you're going to get scored for. So some smaller communities came in and they had a ton of stuff that was donated. Like they had, oh, this company's already said they're going to donate all the lumber, and this company's going to bring in this and this and this. They're going to donate that, and they're going to come in with their big front-end loader, and they're going to donate a ton. So that's how the smaller communities work, and that's absolutely right. The bigger cities, counties, they would come in and they would have that, but they don't have that. That's not technically a cost efficiency from what we're seeing and from what we're scoring. So when I'm scoring that, I'm looking at it and going, oh, so you said, oh yeah, you've got 2.7 million coming out of your budget for this. Okay, but do you have any donations from any of the local user groups? Do you have letters of support for your sports field? When you're saying the sports field is needed, okay, well, which community sports groups have signed a letter of support? Awesome. Have they donated any funds towards this? No. Okay, well, then I score you lower on cost efficiencies. You might get the project support points because you got a letter of support from them, but you're not going to get cost efficiencies points. So there's a subjective aspect of that. Like there's certain, I'll give them a little bit if they've got a little bit of something, but they won't get full points if you don't have donations. Period. So we've got really strong donations. That's only a 5-pointer, but it's a 5-pointer that a lot of those people don't have. So that helps. So anything else, Matt?
Okay, last anecdote. So in that scoring criteria, there's 2 criteria at the bottom that are not the board. They're called staff review. So the board doesn't review them, the staff grades you on these. It's the most interesting point scale you've ever seen. The staff can either give you 0 points. The first category is compliance. So they look at past grant applications that your entity has made. And they say, did you follow all the rules? Did you execute the money right? Did you spend it? Did you actually build the thing? All that kind of stuff. And so if you do that and you're compliant, you get 0. If you weren't super compliant, but okay, you get -1. And they can assign you up to -2 points if you really were not compliant. So they sent us a note the day before the technical review that said, congratulations, we graded you, you get 0.
You got 0.
So we were most outstanding score, we got 0 points. I emailed the lady back up, said that's the best 0 I ever got in my life, so thank you. So we did, we already got graded and we got 0s across the board. So.
Okay, aquatic wellness, we did have a joint pool committee meeting, looked at next steps and discussed the possibility of conceptual renderings from Patano. Decided at that meeting that they were not necessary considering the level of hearings Matt had done. Matt's already emailed me the next steps for the $400,000 allocation from the supplemental state budget, and I will be working on that now that I'm back in the office, and starting to get that rolling so that we can start working on design.
Did you also get the quote form that I got from the director in North Bend or Sideview?
Yes, I did, and I
Okay.
don't know but I don't know if it was for a pool.
No, it wasn't. It was just a request for design services.
Okay.
So
I'll take a look, but I believe I got that link as well.
Okay.
So we're gonna start working towards getting that process moving. And then I had a note in here because, we were also talking about the septic design, and, Eric and Tom had approached the Dakins on the question of the easement, and we're not gonna be moving forward with that. Anything else on that, Matt? Anything else on that meeting? Okay, and then the small water system management plan I pretty much discussed in the staff report. I'm moving forward on it. I'm hoping to have 3 quotes by July that I can bring to the board, and then I don't know, that's not in our budget at this point, so we'll have to figure out, and then I'll get with Matt and get a recommendation as to where we should allocate that funding to come from, but I believe that's something we need to do.
So just to clarify, in order for Ecology to approve the plan, we have to have completed the decommissioning?
I believe we have to do this.
Okay. Got it.
And right now, a lot of these companies are 6 months out. So it's getting on their calendar, getting moving. So, I mean, if we don't get it done, we lose the ability to bill RCO and get reimbursed for 50% of what we spend. So it's an important thing to do.
No, for sure.
I think it's a good expenditure, $5,100, and that gets us to the small water system.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's where that stands. Any questions on anything to do with that, with the comprehensive plan stuff?
And then who at the county are you still waiting on?
So yes, the septic system design for the campground was under review by the Department of Health, and I have been followed up, and they said, yeah, we're looking at that, we'll get that back to you.
But you're talking State Department of Health.
No, I'm talking County Department of Health for the campground, not for the
Right, so, but does it only need to go to the state, because it's not?
Only needs to go to the county.
Or, sorry, to the county?
Because we're not actually building it yet.
I got it.
It's part of the site design. They wanted a design of a septic system. So we worked with Davido and got that completed. The problem being, I haven't had it approved yet by them, and that's one of their checkoff items is yes, we're good.
How many months out are we?
Since I put it into them?
Waiting, yeah.
No, November. The county is in a state of chaos, I think, at the moment. It is ridiculous. So I will be following up with that person again, and probably their supervisor at this point.
Do you have name?
Off the top of my head now, but I want to say Kim, but it could be something different than that. But no, it is in my email. Any other questions?
I have a question unrelated to any of this.
I think you're good to go.
Deer Lake,
Yes.
have we heard anything back about their plans, their timing? They
what?
were gonna maybe delay anything?
I have not heard back on the delay that we asked about.
What's the question?
So Deer Lake was going to do their remodel, but it was going to be in the middle of summer when we're right in the middle of high time for usage there. We asked them to take it away till the fall, because they're going to put in a whole new boat ramp down there and do a launching and float and all this kind of stuff. And we'd asked them to push it up to September, October when there's less usage. They didn't know if that was possible, and they were going to get back to me, but I haven't heard.
And that's Fish and Wildlife?
That's Fish and
Given how short a summer we're going to have?
Wildlife.
Yeah, intense use for 6 weeks.
They were put off by the county because of their dock. So they submitted their dock plan for their float, and it was wider than what they allowed.
They might still
So
be
they were
waiting.
looking for a variance within, because that's what they install all over the state. That's last week.
Do we know, was that part of, was that a Fish and Wildlife grant application?
Yes.
RCF?
Yeah, and that's why any grants, anything to do with the lake sites, we would always go through Fish and Wildlife, because quite frankly, they have their own category.
Yeah.
And they can do whatever they want in the category, and they don't have to. So whereas we have to come up with a way to match 100% of the dollars we get from them, we have to match. Whereas Fish and Wildlife, when they put in the project, if they get approved, they get the whole amount of money.
And then Goss Lake, in preparation for the triathlon, there's a hanging branch, a broken branch. I sent an email. I can send a picture. It's hanging, if you are at the lakeside and you're looking up, it's like the very first tree. It's broken. It's yeah.
Right by the launch or by the
It's
by the beach area?
just up from the beach, but it's very close to the launch. I don't know, how high would that be?
I was just there and I didn't.
I just never take my phone down there to take a picture. I will try to remember to take a picture. But it's just hanging, and I'm just afraid with like all those people run, with the race.
Well, we can't get it with like a 20-foot ladder.
Oh yeah, that should be fine. Yeah, you should be able to get that. Yeah.
Well, the other thing at Goss that I noticed is the bench. So there's a bench there now, waterside bench, but it's not attached to the ground. I saw somebody sit on it and fell over.
It's not ours.
Yeah.
Somebody brought it in.
That was
Somebody
never
brought it.
we were touring. It's been there for a bit. And
Yeah.
not stable, but it's been there.
Yeah, no, it's completely unstable. It's a nice bench, but can't really sit on it. You put your stuff on it.
So, and also, do we need Fish and Wildlife? Weren't they gonna come kind of fill in some of the gravel in the driveway? Do we need that done before the triathlon?
We've been trying to just keep up on mowing.
Okay, so that's us.
So.
I'll just say there's a race coming up.
Well, but I mean, but this is a Fish and Wildlife. They're the ones who would do it, right?
No,
No.
in past years,
They did come in and actually ask for gravel.
Did they?
A month and a half ago. But it's rained so hard, it washed everything back out. And that's something we've been talking about for 10 years, is we need to fix the drainage out there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we talked about that.
That's probably a grant through.
Well, do we have the guy we were talking to at Fish and Wildlife, do we have a contact that we talk to who's responsible for those?
I've already written it down and have come out to take a look at it.
Yeah.
I can go pick up a load of gravel, go out there, drag the tractor down there, spread everything out, get everything fixed up, and we can send him the bill. He said that's fine, if we need gravel, we get what we need.
Well, let's look at timeline though.
Yeah, we just haven't had time.
Because I know we're still training Alex, so we're still technically, we're at 2.5 as opposed to 3 guys. So let's see where we're at in a couple of weeks, but I'm gonna reach out to Derek and just see what he can do, and then maybe just lies with a month's time notice.
Do we know anything about any Fish and Wildlife plan to improve just the water access there, the bank, and that whole idea of terracing it or anything?
I'm sure it's probably one of the things we've talked with them about is the launch of Lone Lake.
Because Lone Lake is, good. Deer Lake is good. Goss Lake is, rough.
The big problem there is the outflow isn't letting the water out, and it's too high, so there's no beach anymore.
Yeah, it's 2 to 3 feet high.
I mean, it's almost like a county issue where somebody needs to go to the other side and
Clear the outflow.
say, okay, what's going on here? Because it was never that high. I mean, if you look at the signs that are installed out in the
Oh,
water.
yeah.
I screwed those on those posts,
Yeah.
so when we took it over, that's where the water was.
Well, but doesn't Fish and Wildlife have at least easement access to the outflows? Isn't that part of their purview?
I don't know.
I think that was the Allen County.
It's Allen County.
Yeah, so we should ask that question because Deer Lake's outflow.
Or is it the community club?
Well, it's on community club property, right? But who knows about so that was my question. The property, that portion, is that county property?
I can ask the county. The county will be able to let me know. I'll go to the county engineer.
Well, yeah, there's no beach.
Yeah. Well, and if it's just at the outflow, like 2 years ago when they cleared the Deer Lake outflow and that started flowing, made a huge difference. So, I just have never, I didn't think about Goss Lake, but yeah.
How is that done? Like, is it with an excavator, or how would that be, do you know?
Probably depends on the situation. Like, is it a 12-inch pipe? Is it a swale? Is it a something else?
Is it adjustable?
Yeah, who knows? And Goss Lake, I couldn't tell you where it is. If it's straight across at that fenced area, maybe, I
Yeah,
don't
in
know.
the community park.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think all these things are high though. We just got off Deer Lake, and Deer Lake's higher than I've ever seen it before. We were kayaking out there, and it's like it's right up to the grass everywhere.
It's crazy.
Yeah, well, but it doesn't affect the other lakes the way it affects Goss. Because if there's no beach at Goss, right? It's hard to walk in. Yeah, it's hard to walk in. So, yeah, and that, to me, I think if there's a chance, like, it wouldn't be a terrible thing if those guys are around. You know, I'm sure they come here every couple of months. Like, if they're going to be here and out at those sites, I would love to, you know, send a commissioner or two out to meet and walk around with them. Just to
Well, we
chit-chat.
did in March.
Did you walk in Goss?
Yeah.
Oh, you did? Okay. Well, what did they say?
All of them. So, again, focus, there is a plan, or there is a project for Deer Lake. There's really nothing for Goss
At that time?
at that
Yeah,
time.
okay. So maybe in the next grant cycle,
Right,
though,
exactly.
they could
Well,
make Goss a priority.
You know, it's a prioritization with the state, and they're gonna look at all the lakes and what's
Sure.
the one that needs the most work right now, and where's the biggest fire we have to put out, and we'll deal with that first, and we'll move on to the next one.
Yeah.
So I know Deer Lake was higher on their list for a number of reasons.
Well, it's motorized boat access, right?
Right, and so that one got in.
And they put the tag lotto fish in there. That's the only lake in Island County where you win prizes.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
fishing game like that.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So it really just depends on where that project is in their queue, and if we can get it to move up a little bit.
You also have to remember Fish and Wildlife. They're worried about fishing.
Thank you.
It's not for swimming.
Yeah.
In their eyes, these places are not for swimming. It's boat access and it's fishing.
Yeah. But, I mean, but the boat access part is part of the deal, right?
Well, for them, you
Yeah.
gotta launch and it's
Right.
comfortable and, I mean.
Yep. Yeah, which means,
He looks at
And
the
that's-
beach and he's like,
right, but when the boat access is flooded and you can't see the post because it's underwater and
Yeah.
you're gonna trash your trailer, you're gonna, you know.
I don't know,
So the water level, I think they care about.
I just can't believe it's been that high for that long.
Yeah.
It's just been there.
Anything else, guys?
One thing on the staff report, I was thinking, Tom's saying overflowing garbage cans. Have you guys ever talked about like a 5-yard dumpster on either side during Memorial Day, Labor Day? It's like not in the parking lot where someone could bring all their home trash, but maybe just off a little bit with a bollard that just, can be picked up once a week. And then you guys wouldn't have to swing trash around as much.
So up at our shop, we have two yarders. And we've also got a third one right here that services this building. So,
For the public though?
No.
Public?
For the public, like something that was maybe by the ball fields or,
It would be filled with home garbage. We already experienced so much of it's out of control. So no, I like having it in our secured lot.
sure.
Then you don't have wind blowing it everywhere too. So it's just usage is up with all the soccer going on, all the baseball going on. It's right now it's starting to come down especially soccer has just alleviated a lot of that. All the small kids are gone. So it's just kind of a seasonal thing. That's just use. I mean, it's just part of the operation.
Anything else?
No, I got one more. Who's on the sports committee, sports field committee, or you two guys? Is there any way that we could get a meeting before the meeting, talk about some things?
Yeah, you mean just regular sports field usage with the various user groups? Or?
Usage policies,
Yeah.
with Sky here now.
Yeah.
I think there's issues with our scheduling that we run into.
And you
run
mean
into.
You mean like just us, or
Just
involving the soccer club and those guys?
And probably just us first.
Just us.
Okay.
Start
Yeah, schedule.
about stuff and just bring up some issues and things that.
Yeah, schedule some.
Okay, we'll do that.
Great.
All right,
Anything else?
nothing else for the good of the order? We've solved all the
Okay,
ecological problems.
alibi, since that just came up. So one of the things we talked about on the tour was something that I saw at this tournament that I went to with my younger son, is the temporary tape marking lining. They had lined a bunch of open fields for this tournament with these they're tape markers they got hooks on the corners and they're marked every 2 meters, so you can use it to line youth soccer, adult soccer. So you can line a field temporarily, stake it. They're like, one soccer field's worth is like $100. Seems like if we had that, you guys could pull off that. Like if you want to put ultimate at a 45-degree angle on a field, say, hey, we just roll out. They can do it themselves, put the lines out, and then wherever, it doesn't matter where it is, you square it off, right? And then they can roll them up at the end and put them back in the shed. Seems like if we just get a couple of sets of those and then make them available to those guys, use them as their own tools. They said it was completely effective in this tournament. They picked up the next morning, they were all different. Nothing painted on the grass, nothing else. And staked them all, rolled it out, tape width. So anyway, just take a look and it just seemed like it'd be a real useful tool for
Maybe
$300-400.
try experimental with the ultimate group since
Yeah, whatever.
more flexible.
Whatever. Like I said, it's just, you can line it as any way you want there. It's 200 meters and it's marked every 2, and you just mark it out.
All right. No other comments or issues, discussion? Let's adjourn this meeting at 7:34 officially. Thank you.
Thank you for the orange. Made it because of this little orange.
Yeah.
This conference is no longer being recorded.
Plenty of water.
I'm hungry.
Yeah, but
I understand.
this packed a punch for an orange the size of a